Casey Means will be nominated as our next Surgeon General of the United States of America. Casey has impeccable MAHA credentials, and will work closely with our wonderful Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Well, Andrea Love, PhD, explains Casey Means is a grifter who dropped out of her ENT residency to start a company selling glucose monitors and health all to non-diabetics. She doesn't know basic science, yet claims she's a metabolism expert. Incomplete ENT residency does not an expert make. But of course, she's now up for Surgeon General. Pat Dennis says, here's a list of things our new Surgeon General, Casey Means, did to find love at age 35 per her newsletter. Shrine, full moon ceremonies, she talked to trees, and then she did mushrooms. Even Donald Trump's close advisor, Laura Loomer, says, what are you doing? Aren't surgeon generals supposed to be top doctors, not people who appear not to even have their licenses? We'll report more on this today, but that's Donald Trump's Surgeon General for you folks. Also, Donald Trump tends to announce today, according to the New York Times, that he's going to do some sort of deal with the United Kingdom, but it seems to be one of those fake deals to manipulate the market again, because Donald Trump realized that systemically our market, our actual economy right now is breaking. But what he saw with his trade war against the world is that he can move the market and manipulate it, especially for his rich oligarch friends who get inside tips or learn about it through private meetings. And he can do that by tweeting and posting about things. But when you actually look at what this UK supposed deal is going to be, the deal won't even get rid of the 10% tariffs on the UK. It looks like there will be a reduction in tariffs on British cars in exchange for the UK lowering taxes on digital services like Google. So it's not a deal. Is this one of those sub deals that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is talking about? Spencer Akimian says, yeah, every 6 hours, Donald Trump's going to come back with a new massive trade deal that ends up being absolutely nothing just to pump the markets for a few hours. Here was Donald Trump yesterday during that bizarre press conference that we covered here on the Midas Touch Network, where he was asked, are you willing to pull back your tariffs to get China to the negotiating table? Remember, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he's going to Switzerland to speak with China's trade representatives. So the reporter asks, are you going to pull back any of these tariffs? Trump sabotages Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's talks with China before they even begin. Trump says no. Here, play this clip right here.
In order to have substantive negotiations, you have to bring down your 145% tariffs. Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
A reporter then follows up with Donald Trump and says, China said that the U.S. initiated the trade talks this week. What do you say about that? To which Donald Trump said, they're wrong. They're lying. Donald Trump, you pretty much have the track record of lying right here. Let's play that clip.
We will, but we haven't made that decision yet.
President, China said the U.S. initiated the trade talks this weekend and that its position hasn't changed. Are you still confident you can reach a deal with China?
They said we initiated? Well, I think they ought to go back and study their files. Okay, I do think that.
That's what Donald Trump's saying right there. What is Xi Jinping saying? Well, Xi Jinping is taking a trip to Russia where he is going to be in Moscow meeting with Vladimir Putin. Do you see, by the way, both of them giving Donald Trump the middle finger right here? It is a move showing that they think Donald Trump is utterly weak and pathetic. And trust me, our NATO allies who now see Donald Trump as weak and pathetic know exactly what this meeting between Putin and Xi Jinping is about. And ahead of this meeting, China's Xi Jinping likens U.S. hegemony to fascist forces ahead of this meeting. Xi Jinping has drawn a parallel between the modern day U.S. hegemony and the arrogant fascist forces of 80 years ago, ahead of Thursday's Moscow summit with Vladimir Putin and Second World War Victory Day celebrations. The Chinese and Russian president are using the visit to signal the strength of their alliance against the U.S.-led international order, as Donald Trump unleashes tariffs on Beijing and tries to push Moscow towards a peace deal. I don't think that's what Donald Trump's actually doing there. The just forces, this is the quote from Xi, The just forces of the world, including China and the Soviet Union, fought bravely and defeated the arrogant fascist forces side by side, Xi wrote in an article published in Russian and Chinese media before his arrival in Moscow on Wednesday. He added, 80 years later, unilateralism, hegemony, and bullying are extremely harmful. Humanity is once again at a crossroads. Moscow struck a similar note in the run-up to Thursday's summit, the first between Putin and Xi since Trump took office in January. The just forces of the world, including China and the Soviet Union, fought bravely side by side to defeat the arrogant fascist forces, Xi wrote in the article. And again, analogizing it once again to what's going on right now. Want to share this with you though, because let me bring you some other just objective data. I want to share with you what's going on in the Seattle ports. So first, I want to show you the guy who's leading the Seattle ports right now, so you can see what he's saying about the ships coming in. Let's play this clip first. Let's play it.
Of America. So it's great to have you here tonight, sir. The tariffs so far, I wonder for you directly, what is the impact that you're seeing? How could you sum up how much your job has changed because of the policies coming out of the White House tonight?
Thanks for having me, Caitlin. I can see it right over my shoulder here. I'm looking out at the Port of Seattle right now, and we currently have no container ships at berth. And that happens every once in a while in normal times, but it is pretty rare. And so to see it tonight is, I think, a stark reminder that the impacts of the tariffs have real implications. It means that we don't have longshore workers on the dock right now unloading merchandise. We don't have trains taking that merchandise to inland ports and all the way across the country to places like Des Moines, Iowa, and Chicago, Illinois. And that's hundreds of jobs right here in our region and across the country.
You have none at your port right now?
We currently do not have any container ships at port right now. That's correct.
And that's because just nothing is being shipped over? I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
Well, it is. It's pretty unusual. We do anticipate, I was looking at our schedule, we anticipate about 25 vessel calls between here and the port of Tacoma over the next 7 days. And keep in mind, we're not just importing from Asia or just China. We do have activity from all over the world, largely the Pacific Rim, but we are seeing a significant drop in container volume through our...
And now let me play for you the guy who's leading the ports in Los Angeles, in Long Beach over here, so you can see what he's saying right now. Here, play this clip.
Just describe for us, let's take a beat, really frame it for us, how much volume has just dropped off in the last few weeks?
Yeah, about a third of the import volume, which means give or take about 50,000 20-foot equivalent units gone off the arrivals coming in next week.
From next week is when you expect to see this really hit?
That's correct, and that matches up. The announcement's back on April 2nd, then on April 8th, a little bit of a change on everybody ex-China, Mexico, Canada, and those arrivals are coming at us this weekend.
We'll, of course, dedicate time to your port, but I'm just wondering how you're anticipating this rolls and ripples through the economy from here, how it hits trucking, when this turns up on the shelf. What's the distance, the time from when you see a drop-off in volume and when we, as consumers, see the shortages?
Right, so CEOs are telling me, hit the pause button, right? I'm not going to import anymore at these kind of prices. Let's wait and see. I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks till I get some clarity. Then hiring. Off the table for right now. Capital investment, pause. And the retailers are telling me that realistically, with even the 10%, I'm going to have to pass it on to the consumers.
So how much is this really coming from all over? It's not just about China. This is about really global trade coming to a standstill until there is a much greater degree of certainty and a much lower tariff rate than even the baseline that's been put out there.
Yeah, when I was last with you all, Lisa, I said global trade's going to slow, economies will follow, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Back in November, so many of us were wringing our hands about 4% inflation. We've just added 10 percentage points to imports coming out of Southeast Asia for our port, and these unbelievable numbers out of China.
Now, I bring you that objective data because while Donald Trump's out there lying, while you see Xi Jinping and Putin forming stronger alliances against the United States, so you see what's going on there, while you see a war between Pakistan and India attacked Pakistan after a terrorist attack in Kashmir, and that they're at war with each other right now, a hot war, you see that Donald Trump has no clue what he's doing in all aspects. economic, foreign policy, you name it, Trump has no clue. So let me just show you one other objective data. I want to show you hard data, the ports. And now I'll just show you what the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said yesterday. Here, play this clip.
What looks likely